Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Tony. Welcome to the Cruise Show, where I talk you through everything going on in cruising. And, well, let's kick this show off with a tragic story about a woman who had paid $5,000 for a cruise. She was 11 weeks pregnant, and a few days before her cruise, she had complications with her pregnancy, and she miscarried. And certainly that's a heavy situation that nobody wants to experience. But compounding the tragedy of that situation, she reached out to Carnival Cruise Line. Cruise was scheduled to be on the Carnival Legend 10-day Alaska cruise. She reached out to Carnival Cruise Line. She told them their story, and they were like, well, sorry, no refund for you. They were looking for a refund. And there was no refund because they didn't have any travel insurance. They didn't buy the protection plan that was offered by Carnival Cruise Line. They didn't have any third-party insurance. And, well, she ran it up the chain. She reached out multiple times, and I believe that the total tally was 5 times she reached out. And she said each time she had to recant the painful story of losing her baby. And every time she reached out, it met no welcoming ears, I guess, as it were. Eventually, she did talk to a human being. A lot of these early interactions were online, and the refund situation was resolved. She wasn't refunded her money, but she was given credits for a future cruise. So I think that's about maybe for them, the best way that story could have ended would be to get a refund, but at least getting the same amount of money in a future cruise credit, whether you can get the cruise for the same price that you did initially, I guess that's a whole thing, but at least they're not walking away empty-handed. What's sad is we really see this play out a lot when it comes to cruising. Cruising is one of those weird scenarios where you make a plan most of the time way out into the future, and you're just hoping that nothing happens that alters that plan. And certainly a lot of things have altered that plan. The tragedy of losing a child, the complications of pregnancy, it's rough. It's rough. So we can certainly sympathize with her. But these companies are that. They're companies for profit. And, when you sign up with these companies to go on a cruise vacation, they're having you sign a cruise contract that says, hey, look, if you have to cancel and you don't cancel based on these criteria, then you don't get your money back. And one way that you can overcome that certainly is with travel insurance. That's why I preach it all the time. Get your travel insurance, because you just don't really know what tomorrow holds. But I don't know. What do you think on this one? Like, where do you draw the line? Certainly you can be sympathetic for a mother with a pregnancy complication, losing a child, having a miscarriage. Certainly that is a sympathetic situation where you would be inclined to refund the money. But is that any more sympathetic than a woman who is planning to go on a cruise, 50th anniversary cruise with her husband, and then he dies suddenly and she can't get the money back because, they didn't have travel insurance, or any other variety of sad reasons why people have to cancel their cruise at the last minute and, don't fall within the cancellation policy? It's tough. What do you think? Do you think just having a set rule that they always try to follow is the way to go? Or do you think they should go on a case-by-case basis? And that just becomes so subjective, I guess. But I don't know. What do you think? So the Carnival Legend is a part of the Carnival Cruise Line, but Carnival Corporation owns multiple cruise lines. And I think sometimes this gets confused. Each of those cruise lines operate independently of the other. And so that's why you may see technology on a Princess cruise ship that doesn't exist on a Carnival cruise ship, Carnival Cruise Line cruise ship. That's why you may see a Guy's Burger on a Carnival Cruise Line cruise ship, and you don't see it on, Cunard, or you don't see it on Holland America Line. And that makes an interesting dynamic for these brands that live inside of the larger company, because what happens if you start to market your company in a way that may be different than one of your sister brands? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Interestingly, this summer, Holland America Line has a new marketing campaign called Refreshingly Free. And it's primarily focused on cruises that are going to the Caribbean. And the big push is, look, there's a lot of cruise ships that go to the Caribbean. And there's a lot of these cruise ships that hold way more people than we do on Holland America. And a lot of these cruise ships are almost like floating amusement parks. And it's an interesting way for Holland America to market their line. They're trying to tell people out there that, look, we ain't got roller coasters. We don't have water slides. We're super chill. We're relaxed. We're refreshingly free. Free of, I don't think they're saying like free of kids, but I think they're definitely saying they're free of some of these other things that may be appealing to families that they don't necessarily have on Holland America Line. I don't think as a family, I don't think as parents with kids, you know, teenagers, younger kids, I don't think you'd have a horrible time on Holland America Line, but you know, kids would probably enjoy zip lines and water slides and those kind of things may be better than, you know, the latest, you know, rock band in the Billboard thing on Holland America Line. Look, cruising is beautiful because there are so many different options for people out there, and you can certainly find the cruise that meets your vibe. That's an essential thing, I think, of being a cruiser, is to make sure that you find the cruise that aligns best with how you like to cruise, and that means you got to try a few different cruise lines. But I love right there in the Carnival Corporation family, Holland America Line raising their hand saying, hey, look, maybe one of our sister companies has roller coasters, but we don't. So come and cruise amusement park free over here on Holland America Line. I think it's great marketing. It's great marketing, and just you know, maybe people don't realize that there's a different way to cruise out there. So hopefully they draw some people into Holland this summer. Now, yesterday we did see a new travel ban put in place. I don't really think this is going to impact cruising too much, but it's really a travel ban. It's certain countries that cannot travel to the United States. And so this would impact cruising if people from these countries are coming to the United States to cruise. What we ended up with was a ban where nationals from 12 countries will be completely denied entry to the United States. Those countries: Afghanistan, Myanmar, Chad, Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. And then there's 7 countries that will have a partial restriction: Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. Now, there are several exceptions to this ban. That includes lawful permanent residents, existing visa holders, certain visa categories, and individuals whose entry serves U.S. national interest. Looking at the map here, we do have a few that are close to us in North and South America. We've got Haiti, which is completely suspended, and then Cuba, which is a restricted entry, Venezuela, a restricted entry. Again, I don't really think it's going to impact cruising much, but it is a good reminder that sometimes things happen outside of just the cruise industry that does impact cruising, and certainly rules and restrictions by governments are one of those things. And so, yeah, that's happening. It's happening. Now, I do have an interesting conversation to spark about what's being called breakfast entertainment on a cruise ship. I'm going to get to that, but I do want to share one more story. There's a wild phenomenon that happens in sports, particularly where multiple countries come together to compete. So the biggest example I would say are the Olympics. So when you have the Olympics in Paris, you have, you know, thousands of athletes coming from around the world to compete in Paris. And one of the challenges logistically is the housing of those athletes. An athlete village is often set up, and sometimes the athletes village gets criticized. Paris being an example, they created furniture out of cardboard so it would be easy to dispose of, and you wouldn't have to spend money for permanent structures that wouldn't be used again, just for the one time that the Olympics were there. But a lot of the people complained that the cardboard furniture wasn't that great for the athletes. Well, there is an Asian Games coming up in Japan in 2026. And well, the folks that are organizing the Asian Games said, look, we've got this athlete village problem. Let's put some of them on cruise ships. And also let's put some of them in metal containers. It's pretty wild. They've got 15,000 people that they're going to house in normal housing, 4,600 athletes that will be on the floating village on the cruise ship, and then the 2,400 that will be in metal container shelters. And to me, and it's probably because I'm a fan of cruising, sounds like a perfect way to have a place for these athletes to stay but not have to build a permanent structure. But some people are saying, look, you're having these games right in the middle of Japan's typhoon season, and you really want to put people in metal containers and on a floating cruise ship when the storms are coming. Right in the storm out. Is that what you want for your shot putter, as it were? Shout out Ludacris. I was in China during a typhoon. I was in the China Sea trying to get to Japan. It's not fun. Aside but related, it really is a funny trend in life that no matter what you decide to do, somebody's not going to be happy about it. The old adage, you can't please all of the people all of the time, is true. They probably could have said, hey, look, we're going to build a multi-floor complex with all of the latest technology and house these athletes, and we're going to have 4 strong men to every athlete to carry them around on a padded bed to get them to all their events, and going to feed them the finest food that exists on earth. And somebody be like, that's a big waste of money. Yeah, you're not going to please everybody. I like the solution of a cruise ship, but like I said, maybe it's because I'm a cruise ship fan. Yeah, I don't know what happened to the days where athletes just toughed it out. They played baseball and they went to World War II. I've been listening to so much music lately. I blame my wife because she bought me a turntable, and I've been collecting vinyl like a madman. Here's a picture of my setup. A shout out to my son Gregory for building my turntable stand. And I think I got about 230 records at this point. And the wild thing is, what I am playing the most is bossa nova jazz from Brazil from the 1950s, and then I guess what would be considered yacht rock. That term hasn't always existed, but I've been listening to a ton of Steely Dan from the 70s, and I've been listening to Latin percussion in the form of Santana. That music is almost 60 years old. The music I love the most right now is almost 60 years old. So that means if you were listening, if you were somebody my age in the 70s, I would have been listening to music from the 1910s. I don't know. How do you find new music these days? Am I just regulated? Is something happened? Your favorite music, right? That's the question. Your favorite music right now, when's it from? What decade? How old is the music you're listening to? Or are you somehow keeping up with the newest music trends? I'm going to hit us with some music in a minute, but let's talk about breakfast entertainment on a Carnival cruise ship and whether it's good or whether it's not good. This is a post from the /cruise subreddit over on Reddit, and it's titled, "Is breakfast buffet entertainment really a thing?" I just did an 8-day Carnival South Carib, and for the first time I was introduced to a morning reveler in the buffet area. His job was solely to walk between the tables and shout, "Good morning," at the top of his lungs directly in people's face. It's like this cruise show. It's for your face. It was the last thing anyone wanted. He would harass you if you didn't cheer back to him. It was a sing-song, but his voice was awful, and he had maybe 2 lines. "Good morning" and "Hello, my queens." Grating and irritating. Yes, he was an employee with a name tag, but dressed like the rest of the cleaning staff. The in your face wasn't literal, but he often shouted, "I can't hear you." Look, Carnival notorious for having non-entertainers do entertaining things. I'm thinking about Showtime at the dinner at the main dining room where they have to dress up like Barry Manilow at the Copacabana and shake their groove thing in your face before you can get your creme brulee. But you can skip the main dining room and go to the buffet. But now apparently in the buffet they're singing to you. Look, do you like this? Do you like it when the crew that's not the entertainment crew is forced to entertain? Do you like it when people bother you while you're trying to eat? I don't like it. I don't even like over service when I'm trying to eat. I remember the first time I went on Princess, I sat down at the buffet and somebody came by and offered me juice. And then I, stuck my fork into some hash browns. And as I raised it to my mouth, Somebody else asked me if I wanted juice, and I said no thank you. And then as I started to chew those hash browns, a third person came by and asked me if I wanted juice. That certainly was good service, but I found it to be somewhat over service, which I didn't even know was a thing until I experienced that. I guess you just got to find the balance, the right level of service. Whole story reminds me of the Hubs Gyro skit from Saturday Night Live, where, of course, Sandler infamously, "You like the juice? The juice is good, huh?" That's what it felt like on that Prince's breakfast. Yes, I like the juice, but everybody doesn't have to ask me about it. Have you ever? I've never experienced that. I've never seen that on a Carnival cruise ship. It sounds like a one-off. Have you ever had that? Just a quick update. I've excitingly ticked all of the correct boxes, and now the cruise show is showing up in audio form on Apple Podcast. I'll leave some links to some of the podcast platforms in the description so you can follow us that way. If you don't have a chance to watch the show here on the La Lita Loki YouTube channel, you can find the cruise show on the various podcast platforms. Thanks for watching the show. We're episode 3 of the cruise show. It's very exciting. And to celebrate, I think we should listen to some music. An opportunity for you to stretch or to dance or just to move a little bit. Thanks for watching today's episode. We'll see you on the Lido. And now it's time to get up. Get up.